On the third day of competition at the Paralympic Games in Paris, Great Britain's swimmers claimed 3 gold medals within 40 minutes, and the United States took its first 2 track and field titles. China leads the medals table with 20 gold, while Great Britain is second with 11.
The 85-year-old British actor Ian McKellen says he has no intention of retiring, despite falling off stage and injuring himself in June. The Shakespeare actor is best known for playing the wizard Gandalf in The Lord of the Rings.
The German car maker Volkswagen has warned it may have to close factories in its home country as part of a cost-cutting programme. It could also end a job security deal agreed with unions. Volkswagen says it needs to find savings worth $11 billion.
Pope Francis has used the first speech of his tour of Southeast Asia to call for the strengthening of interreligious ties to help fight extremism and intolerance. Speaking in Indonesia's presidential palace, the pontiff said interfaith dialogue was indispensable for meeting common challenges.
In tennis, the world number 1, Iga Swiatek, has been knocked out of the US Open by the American Jessica Pegula. The 6th seed won in straight sets to reach her first major semi-final. In the men's, the British player Jack Draper reached the last 4 of a Grand Slam for the first time.
Beijing has criticised a decision by the Netherlands to restrict exports of products from the supplier of chip-making equipment ASML to China. It has blamed the United States for putting pressure on the Dutch authorities.
The acting governor of the Indonesian island of Bali has proposed a 2-year ban on the construction of new hotels, villas and nightclubs to prevent overdevelopment. He's already instituted a crackdown on bad behaviour by tourists. China's sport regulator has banned 43 people from football for life for gambling and match fixing. Those excluded include the South Korean midfielder Son Jun-ho.
Pope Francis has used the first speech of his tour of Southeast Asia to call for the strengthening of interreligious ties to help fight extremism and intolerance. Speaking in Indonesia's presidential palace, the pontiff said interfaith dialogue was indispensable for meeting common challenges.
Animal rights campaigners in Britain have accused the army of wasting money on ceremonial bearskin hats worn by guards outside Buckingham Palace. They're calling for a switch to fake fur.
Pilots and cabin crew of Argentina's state-owned airline have begun a 24-hour strike, which has cancelled more than 300 flights. At least 30,000 passengers in Argentina and abroad have been affected. Union leaders are demanding a pay rise.
A public hearing is beginning in the United States into the Titan submersible disaster last year, in which 5 people lost their lives. The deep-sea vessel, owned by the US company OceanGate, imploded on a visit to the wreck of the Titanic, nearly 4,000 metres down in the Atlantic Ocean.
The head of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, has presented her proposed new team of commissioners after negotiations with member states. 40% of the candidates are now women, almost double the number originally proposed.
An EU court has annulled a fine of more than $1.6 billion imposed on Google over online searches. It said the Commission had not considered all the relevant circumstances in its investigation into market dominance.
The US Federal Reserve has cut its lending rate for the first time in 4 years. The target range has been dropped by half a point to between 4.75% and 5%.
Donald Trump has declined to take part in a second US presidential debate with his Democratic rival Kamala Harris ahead of November's election. Ms. Harris has accepted an invitation from CNN to hold another debate with Mr. Trump.
The Swedish company Northvolt, which makes batteries for electric vehicles, is to cut about a quarter of its workforce. Most of the 1,600 jobs will be lost at its huge factory in Skellefteå in the north of Sweden.
New research has found that octopuses and fish sometimes hunt together. The fish scout out prey and then get the octopuses to reach inside crevices with their long arms. But their relationship isn't always friendly. Octopuses have been seen punching the fish if they are opportunistic or don't work hard enough.
EU member states have approved lowering the protection status of wolves from strictly protected to protected, making it easier to hunt the animals. The European Commission says the number of wolves is increasing.
South Korea's spy agency is said to believe that the North now has enough nuclear material to produce at least a double-digit number of nuclear weapons. An MP who attended the agency's closed parliamentary briefing said Pyongyang likely possessed around 70 kilograms of plutonium and large quantities of enriched uranium.
Climate activists from the British protest group Just Stop Oil have thrown soup at two paintings by Vincent van Gogh in London's National Gallery. It comes just hours after two other members of the group were jailed for doing the same thing 2 years ago.
시청해 주셔서 감사합니다. 다음 시간에 뵙겠습니다.